Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss. A VO boss. Set yourself up with business owners' strategies and success with your host, Ann Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss. A VO boss.
Welcome, everybody, to the VO B.O.S.S podcast. I'm Ann Ganguzza, along with my lovely co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hi.
Today's podcast, we're going to be talking all about the business of VO, client expectations. And so, Gabby, this leads us to the discussion of our particular different backgrounds and how we are able to market to our clientele. And what is it that makes your voiceover business perhaps different than mine? And how do you market to your clients?
When we were talking to Elaine Clark, she said something, that was really awesome about wearing multiple hats, but not wearing the entire hat rack. Right. And that's really what this is all about. So, me as a professional voice actress, I would say my specialties, my focuses every day, definitely my commercial work. Mm-hmm. My two, I guess, the specialty areas that I'm known for throughout the voiceover community, because I coach for them, is radio imaging and TV promo. Mm-hmm. And then I also have some really specific character voices that I market, because I do accents, but not too many. I'm not like a character animation actor. I just have like a very small handful of things that I've perfected over the years. So when I go about branding and marketing and getting my voice out there and my website, those are the things that I focus on. And they all have their nice little neat compartmentalized boxes in my business plan.
And I think that helps you to market more effectively, actually, rather than trying to market to the entire. Because really, when we're talking about, brands and perhaps vocally branding ourselves in the industry, it really helps to have a targeted audience. And I know we've spoken about this in the last few episodes, that targeting your clients and your audience is super important, because you can speak their language and market to them directly, and again, serve their needs. Again, it's about your client. It's not necessarily about you. And so if you can really discover where it is that you fit vocally in the industry and what markets you fit into best, then I think that's a great first step into being able to be successful in those markets.
Well, it is. And it's weird, because it is about you, but it isn't about you.
Right.
It's kind of both at the same time, because yes, you have to know your strengths. You have to know those skills that you have, that you possess, that are superior. But at the end of the day, it's not about what those skills do for you. It's what do those skills do for the clientele that are going to hire me, and how do I get their attention with that? So,
excellent point.
Yeah, and the other thing, I always tell people this, I'm like, look, being a voice actor and trying to do everything, I mean, it's like throwing darts at Jell-O. Like, you're just not going to get anywhere. Nothing's ever going to stick that way, because there's too many avenues and there's too many options. It's overwhelming. Who wants to try to do that?
Exactly.
And, your business model couldn't be, I don't think, much more different than mine. And you've got a whole different area of expertise. So let's talk about that for a second. Dive into your stuff.
Well, and I think that's great, because, and yet we can coexist together and work really well together. So, for example,
I'm not going to sing Kumbaya. That is not happening. I'm laying the law down now.
I'm typically known for, my narration style, my narration voice, my telephony work. And that's actually, it's funny, because I always try to bring it back to the point that it is stuff that I find joyful as well. So not only does it fit my area of expertise, but it's also stuff that I find truly enjoyable. And so I excel at that. And I think that it's a great way for you guys to kind of figure out where you should start off in the industry. And I think I mentioned mentioned it before that, you can evolve into different areas, but all of the areas that I'm known for are all variants of the same skill that I excel at and that I truly enjoy. And so, whereas, you would be known for, radio imaging or your commercial work, I'm known for, corporate narration, e-learning, telephony, and I have also a couple of characters that I do. But again, I wouldn't say that I do character work per se.
Yeah.
Like some of our guests, and so that's their area. And so we know the areas that we are good at. And it took us a while, probably, I would say, for any of you new comers to the industry, it's okay. It will take a little bit for you to figure out where it is that you fit in best. And it's something that I think that you can, also find out with the help of a good coach. They can help, steer you or say to you that, what, your vocal type sounds really great in this type of, scenario or this type of market.
It's essential. You have to have that. I mean, it's like, I don't know if anybody else had this experience. I think this is what it was like for me in junior high. We were, given the opportunity to go meet with the music teachers when it was time to select instruments and join the band or join the orchestra and all of this, silliness. And I remember it was kind of like they did the most amazing thing, though. They basically just poured like an entire classroom of kids into our theater room and kind of went, here are all the instruments. What calls to you guys? Like, what speaks to you? And we got a chance
that's great.
to play and kind of be silly and, be goofy with them. And ultimately, that's kind of how everybody chose what instrument they were going to go forward with. And many people, of course, wound up taking that on to high school and then beyond. So that's what your coach enables you to do. They kind of go, here are all the instruments, kiddies. What do you want to, bang on today? Mm-hmm. And then you learn from that process and figure out, where's my home? What calls to me?
Exactly. And it's not that you shouldn't try, everything. I'm always, I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm always encouraging students to just, take a class in promo, take a class in, commercial, take a class in narration, whatever it is, because you're not going to know unless you try it. And then, as you experience it, as you learn different techniques that are essential for that particular, style of voiceover, you'll find out if it suits you, if you enjoy it. And again, I think a big thing is does it call to you? I love that you said that, Gabby, about does it call to you, because I'm a big believer in that. Does it call to you? And is it something that you enjoy? Because you're probably going to work hard at it and you'll want to excel at it, and that will make you I think a good that will make you excellent at it.
Absolutely. The other piece to the puzzle is when we start looking at that all-important branding piece that we're always talking about.
Yeah.
You will see that there are threads, there are similarities, commonalities to the different things that you end up gravitating toward and that make up your career. And that,
absolutely,
as a whole, is going to help to construct your language, the way you present yourself, and the things that you're comfortable with. People that know me well, who have been to my website, I mean, for God's sake, it's called Voiceover Vixen. It's edgy.
You. It screams you.
But it's edgy, and there's language that I use and things that I do that many, many voice actors would look at and go, no, oh boy, no, that's not for me. I can't do that. And that's okay. That's totally fine. I completely respect that. But at the same time, that works for me. I'm willing to put myself out there in that way.
That makes you stand out.
Right. But if I was trying to box myself into something that was maybe more conservative or more corporate, it wouldn't really work. And I wouldn't have the same success. So that's one of the reasons we need to all sort of look at those little moving pieces and figure out.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I think it's something too, like, I came from a corporate well, actually, all right. I always say I came from a corporate background, then I went to an educational background, and then I went into voiceover. But I knew when I worked in the corporate world that, there were certain things in the corporate world that I didn't like, my beliefs were not, aligned to them. And I knew that I would be better off, working in the educational world because I love to teach. I love to share. My experience in the corporate world, at the time it was kind of a cutthroat sort of experience where everybody was like, hanging on to information, and there was all sorts of meetings. And that, for whatever reason, it just at that time for me, it wasn't making me happy, so to speak. And so when I did go into the educational world, that was something that allowed me to be more of myself and to really express more of myself and to allow grow my skills in that area. And then it became more of a creative venture where voiceover really fulfilled that in me. And so I always tried to stay true to my heart and to what was calling to me, to really kind of, figure out where it was that I belonged.
And I think that's genius. And I mean, I totally get the corporate side of things because you're too progressive for that. But
thank you, Gabby. But and I don't want to. I don't want to. That I'm not disrespecting the corporate world because I know there's a lot of people that have jobs. It just wasn't for me, and I knew that right away. And anything that doesn't bring you joy, I think you need to take a look at.
Right. People sometimes ask me, they go, radio imaging, what is that for you? Why do you do it? Why do you pursue it and all this? And I go, I have a radio background, yes, but that's not really the driving force behind it. The driving force for me, honestly and truly, is the copy. I get to read. Imaging is one of the only places I get to read the most outlandish, sarcastic, irreverent, ridiculous things on a daily basis, and I love it. I love the absurdity of it.
Yep.
Because that is me. That I relate to it.
And I love to learn, which is why I love like really good narration copy. Or, I used to install telephones and I was geekily excited by that. I mean, I can't even explain that to people. But I love the fact that, that if you call me up on the phone and you don't get anybody live, that you're going to hear my voice. I love that challenge. And that's why I enjoy it. It's really funny, and there's some really fun copy in there that's challenging to make it sound, friendly and warm, when in fact, the person on the other end of the line is going, "Oh my God, just get me to a live person." So, yeah, that to me is like the challenge, and that's what brings me joy.
So okay, let's talk about a takeaway out of this, because we're going to call that, like, I don't know, part 1 for this podcast.
Right.
And the takeaway there is know thyself. We've all heard it. Know thyself. Know yourself well enough to know the things that you enjoy, the things that bring you joy, the things that you have the talent to back up, obviously, and being able to put those handful of voiceover categories down on paper, and making sure that you have all the skills, again, to back up those areas.
Absolutely. And I think another good takeaway would be to not be afraid to try all of it, to discover if it is indeed something that, you would excel at, or that it brings you joy, and something that you may evolve into. I think they're all going to be closely related to where your passion is.
Yes. Now we look at the client expectations. So what does that equate to? Well, we know what we enjoy doing, and we know that we have the skill to back it up. But do we know how to speak the language of the client that's hiring in that arena?
Excellent point.
Hugely important.
Yes.
Because obviously, if you're not speaking their language, they can't find you, or vice versa.
Exactly.
And
I think it's
where so many talent get frustrated.
Yeah. I think it's super important for every talent to do their homework. So if you find that you have a particular market or niche area that brings you joy, that you want to pursue, find out what it is that your clients are looking for. Like how are you going to speak their language? What do they talk about on a daily basis, and what are their needs? That, I think, is going to really help prepare you to be able to serve them with your voice.
And by the way, from a business standpoint as well as a performance standpoint, think outside of the box when it comes to these genres. We all know the majors, yes, of course. Commercials and narration and corporate and IVR and telephony and promo and imaging and video games and, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. But what speaks to you? I have, over the years, have met some really amazing voice actors who are off kind of in the fringes doing their own thing. I knew a guy in Texas. This is the wildest thing, but like you think about it and go, how cool is this? So he literally owned like cattle and a ranch and had like horses and whatnot. I'm such a city girl that I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
What do you mean, cattle? No.
Right, you have a cow? Like an actual, like moo?
City girl.
But he loved the rodeo. And so he made it a personal mission to meet with, promote to, and market himself to rodeos. The guy literally does almost every commercial throughout the Southeast for rodeos.
I love that.
And he has a whole business built around that. It's his mainstay. I've met guys who do it for car dealers. I've met people who do it for concerts and event promotion. So if you have something that you're really passionate about, I don't care what it is, think of it as its own genre, maybe, especially if you've got the chutzpah to go after it and turn it into business.
There's an excellent example with someone in the industry who happens to like Jeeps. And yes, our good friend Kelly, who has a love for Jeep. And so she created a campaign just for Jeeps to become the voice of Jeep.
Yeah, Kelly Buttrick has been going after it for, I think it's been like a 2-year journey.
Yeah.
And she's created this amazing amount of buzz. She has been interviewed umpteen gajillion times for this. She's landed herself on tons of trades and magazines.
Exactly.
And like, it's amazing the amount of attention that she drew to this cause and subsequently the work that it brought her.
Because she was able to go outside of the box and to really, make her own way. And whether she gets hired by Jeep or not, she really has paved the way, no pun intended, paved the way for her own business and excelling in her own business and making a market for herself.
Absolutely, because for the next few years, at least, if not longer, people are going to encounter her and go, oh man, you're the Jeep girl.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
You're the Jeep lady. And
exactly.
And she has absolutely made a mark that way. So we're all striving for that in a sense. But you have to find your own. So,
absolutely.
With that, client expectations. It's almost like a client needs analysis, but you're doing it yourself. You're sort of analyzing what it is that they're looking for and picking apart a CNA.
And today, it's so easy to be able to do that. I mean, we have information at our fingertips. I mean, Google is right there. So, Google and YouTube and, I'm always telling people to go to the website. There's a lot you can tell visually by looking at a website about a brand, a company's brand, and how they want to sell and that brand to the market. And there's just, look for commercials that are out there, on YouTube or, listen to commercials on television, start to listen for trends and then see if your potential client is following those trends. And if they aren't, then maybe you can get on trend. If you have, an example, if you have a millennial voice, which is a trend these days, go for a company that, you are interested in and see if maybe they are marketing to that audience. And if you have that type of voice that fits, that fits their brand, then absolutely it would be something that I would pursue.
Yeah, you're trying to achieve this almost homeostasis of brand alignment, where you want these companies and everything they represent and what their business model is to come in contact with your business model and go, oh man, they get it.
Absolutely.
This person is totally us. Why wouldn't we want to work with them?
Absolutely. And the least amount of work that they can do to have that brand be seen out in the world in an excelled, or I should say in a better light, because of your voice, the better, so if you can just be there and present them with the solution, so that they don't even have to go searching for it, I think that really will help you to accelerate your career into the stratosphere.
Totally. The other part of that is amazingly simple in a way. It's almost like, I feel like it's a trickery, like it's a black hat thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so many of these companies, despite the fact that we're digital and social media and everybody always says we're disconnected, where there's no human interaction anymore. That's not really true. Companies are striving for personal connection. They want that. They crave it. And so when they meet a like-minded partner, because that's how they view you, it's a partnership. Right. You're not
Absolutely.
just this random person. When you uphold their ethics, their
yes.
Their
values,
beliefs,
their
values,
their mission statement.
Yeah, you're like your family. You're part of the team, and they're
Absolutely.
Proud of that, and they want to accelerate the efforts of everyone involved, and so that's really huge to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you know. The more you know coming into it, let's say you book the gig, and the more you know about the company and their product and what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and how this product helps to fulfill their mission statement, the better off you're going to be, because they're hearing a voice in their head, right? When they create that campaign, they're hearing the voice. When they're writing those words, they're hearing that voice that's going to bring their brand to life. And so the closer you can get to that voice, the quicker and the closer you can get to that voice, the better. And I think the more they'll just come back to hire you again and again, because you get it.
Absolutely. And the incredible part about this is that most of those types of jobs are booked without ever having an audition.
Yeah.
And if there is an audition, it's an audition of one. It's just you. They're just sort of going, hey, we just want to hear a quick sample. We just want to make absolutely sure that we're all lining up. And then it's yours. So really incredible stuff. And I see that happen a lot. I've had it happen. Other voiceover actors have it happen, where it's just you've done such an exceptional job of displaying your image and your message that the companies that are like-minded just immediately respond to it.
Yeah, they gravitate towards you.
Mm-hmm. Really, really killer stuff. So,
excellent episode.
Yeah, do that homework, guys. We're always, pounding that home. I know, but it's critical. It is important.
Our takeaways again.
Yep.
Remember to make sure that you do your homework for your clients. Understand what it is, what their mission statement is, what their brand encompasses, and how you can best serve it.
Make sure that you have those skills to be able to back it up, that you have done your work in terms of training, honing, and perfecting your craft as a performer.
And evolve into those markets, and find those markets by pursuing what it is that brings you joy, and then practicing that and excelling in those skills. So find it by understanding what it is that brings you joy. That about wraps up this podcast episode. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I'd like to thank our sponsor, IPDTL, for our quality connection and for this recording.
You too can record like a boss.
You can find out more at ipdtl.com. From all of us at the VO B.O.S.S podcast, have a kick-butt week.
Stay focused and rock your business like
a boss. A VO Boss.
Like us on Facebook at VO B.O.S.S Podcast and Twitter at VO_Boss. Or you can subscribe
on iTunes or Stitcher.
Rock your business like a boss. A VO Boss. All rights reserved. And Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.